The danger of the emotionally disciplined. You don't need to be knocked down with a punch to lose. Just one suggestive comment, a condescending look, or a subtle insult is enough to make you lose control, if you react instinctively. In today's world, enemies no longer need violence. They only need to make you feel something: anger, shame, offense, or hurt. And with one impulsive reaction, you unknowingly hand them the key to your mind. Machiavelli once said, "He who controls your emotions controls your destiny." This is the terrifying truth. Manipulators know that emotions are the fastest route to controlling others. They don't need to shout or threaten. All they have to do is target your sensitivities, your insecurity, fear of rejection, or hunger for validation. When you react, you become predictable. And a predictable person is easily controlled. The danger doesn't lie in what others do, but in the fact that you let emotion override your reason. True strength begins the moment you stop reacting emotionally and hold your ground like a steel wall against all provocation. To be emotionally dangerous doesn't mean becoming cold or heartless. On the contrary, it is the state of someone who feels deeply but never reveals emotion carelessly. They cannot be read, do not react impulsively, and never fall into others' traps just because someone poked their emotional wound. True danger lies in unpredictability. When people can't read your thoughts or foresee your reactions, they begin to feel powerless. They can't manipulate you emotionally, and that's what makes you a silent threat. An emotionally dangerous person isn't the one who yells or rages, but the one who stays quiet, observes deeply, and responds strategically. They do not numb their feelings, they simply master them as a strategic weapon. They don't react by instinct, they act with calculation. When praise doesn't inflate their ego and insults don't shake them, they become an enigma, someone you can't sway with common tactics. And it is this silence, this impenetrable calm, that makes them more dangerous than any outburst of rage. From a young age, you were taught that emotions are good, that sensitivity is a sign of a kind soul. But the truth is, in the hands of those who understand psychology, your emotions become tools for manipulation. The more emotionally reactive you are, the easier it is to control you. The more you crave love, understanding, or acceptance, the more you allow others to dominate you. When you care too much about what others think or feel, you begin to lose ownership of your own mind. A compliment may lower your guard. A disappointed look may trigger guilt. A sarcastic remark may plunge you into anger or shame. And in that moment, you're no longer thinking rationally, you're reacting according to someone else's script. Emotions are not bad, but they shouldn't be dictated by your surroundings. If you don't control your emotions, someone else will. They'll use your compassion to make you sacrifice. They'll weaponize your guilt to make you retreat. They'll exploit your kindness to weaken you. And bit by bit, you lose your inner freedom without even realizing it. True strength doesn't lie in how much you feel, but in how well you manage what you feel. Many think that being strong means being numb, cold, or detached. But Machiavelli wasn't calling for inhumanity, he was pointing to the fact that power begins the moment you stop reacting emotionally. You don't have to be emotionally dead inside. You just need to learn how to respond selectively. You can still love, feel, and hurt, but you don't let those feelings dictate your actions, words, or decisions. Emotions no longer become impulses, they become strategic weapons, used at the right time, for a clear purpose. A strong person isn't someone who feels nothing, but someone who knows when to express and when to remain silent. They don't act to satisfy fleeting emotions, they act for long-term outcomes. When you stop needing to be right, to be understood, or to vent, you begin to see life through the eyes of a strategist. And when emotions no longer control you, no one else can either. That's when true power begins. One of the biggest turning points in mastering emotion is letting go of the need for external validation. Most people act not because they genuinely want to, but because they unconsciously seek approval, empathy, or praise. They crave understanding, pity, or someone to say, "You're doing the right thing." But this makes them manipulable. When you need approval, you mold yourself to others' standards. You abandon your principles to please. You stay silent when you should speak, just to avoid being disliked. You chase validation instead of your true purpose. The truly strong don't live to be understood, they live to fulfill their vision. They don't seek agreement, they seek results. They don't need pity, because they've learned how to stand alone. Inner freedom begins the moment you're no longer bound by others' opinions. When no one has the power to sway you, you become unshakable. Remember, you don't owe the world an explanation. You only owe yourself a life aligned with your essence and your goals. Emotional control is not a talent, it's a skill. And like any skill, it must be trained daily. You can't stay calm in a storm if you've never practiced silence on peaceful days. Emotional stability doesn't come from luck, it comes from self-discipline, observing, analyzing, and choosing responses instead of reacting automatically. Every time someone offends you, it's not a threat, it's an opportunity to build your inner strength. Every time you feel the urge to react emotionally, pause. Just a few seconds of silence can shift you from impulsive reaction to strategic action. That pause is the first sign of power. Practice begins with the smallest things, staying calm when interrupted, not justifying yourself when misunderstood, observing people when they try to provoke you. Each time you don't react, you reinforce your inner armor. Strength doesn't mean you're untouched, it means you choose not to be controlled by any feeling. And when you train this control daily, you don't just become resilient, you become dangerous, because no one can easily manipulate you again. In the power game, your face is the first battlefield. People watch you not out of curiosity, but to find weakness, a twitch in your eyes, a furrowed brow, a forced smile. These subtle signs reveal anxiety, anger, or fear. And when your face reveals your emotions, you make yourself vulnerable. Machiavelli knew, before your enemy strikes, they look into your eyes. So the truly dangerous one is the person with an unreadable face, calm eyes, composed features, and an unshaken presence in any situation. They don't force smiles or scowl for effect. They control their expressions like a strategic artist. Train your facial neutrality like a sword. Stand before a mirror each day, practice holding a firm gaze, relaxing your features, and not reacting emotionally. Every smile, every frown must have intention. When you can't be read, you make others nervous. Silence may be scary, but a face that reveals nothing is far more terrifying. That's the aura of someone who is untouchable and nearly unbeatable. Ultimately, the goal isn't just emotional control, it's to become a silent warrior, someone who can step into any game without being caught in it. When others react, you observe. When they're swayed by emotions, you stay grounded. When they try to manipulate you with words, looks, or silence, you remain unfazed. True power comes from inner stillness. You don't need to shout to prove yourself. You don't need to argue to be right. You don't need to appear dangerous, your silence is already a warning. People won't know what you're thinking, or what you'll do next, and that makes you formidable. When you master your inner world, you begin to master the outer one. No one can throw you off balance, because you haven't given them that power. No one can make you act on impulse, because every move is calculated. The silent warrior doesn't need praise. They live quietly, but every action leaves a lasting impact. They don't win by noise, they win by never revealing who they are and always staying one step ahead, silently. Those who cannot control their emotions are always controlled by others. One insult makes them rage. One cold glance confuses them. One compliment excites them. They're puppets, their joy, anger, and sorrow dictated by someone else. Worst of all, they don't even know they're being manipulated. But once you master your emotions, you take charge of the game. You no longer react unconsciously. You no longer let meaningless words drag you down. You no longer need approval or rejection. And when no one can make you angry, sad, or off balance, you become ungovernable. From there, you step into a different level of living, where you act for purpose, not for impulse. You observe, analyze, and make deliberate choices. You become the one who holds true power, the power to govern yourself. Remember, emotion is the biggest weakness the world exploits in you. But once trained, it becomes the strongest weapon to elevate you above the crowd. Not reacting is an art. And the one who masters that art is truly free. Many think emotional control is a sign of weakness, that it's about repression, faking kindness, or avoiding conflict. But the truth is the opposite. Those who control their emotions aren't weak, they are the most dangerous. Why? Because they don't act impulsively. They don't fall into traps when provoked. They don't let others read their inner thoughts. And they don't need to shout to assert power, their calm is strength. The average person gets angry when insulted. The strong one stays silent, observes, and remembers. They don't strike back immediately, they wait for the right moment, the right way, to act decisively. Restraint isn't surrender, it's power being stored. The less you're affected, the harder you are to control. And when no one can gauge your state of mind or predict your moves, they become cautious around you. So the next time you choose silence over anger, remember, you're not weak, you're in control. And that's the mark of someone who cannot be easily defeated. In every conflict, the loudest person is usually the one losing control. They yell, argue, fight to be right, but really, they're revealing their weakness. On the contrary, the silent one is the most dangerous in the room, because they don't react, can't be read, and always stay ahead. Silence is not surrender, it's a high form of power. It's the calm that makes others wary. When you don't respond to attacks, don't rush to explain, and don't let emotions explode, you disorient your opponent. They don't know what you think, what you'll do, and that uncertainty disturbs them. A true warrior doesn't need noise to prove their strength. They hide in silence, but always control the game. Within that silence lies observation, calculation, and the perfect moment to strike, precisely, coldly, and effectively. So learn to stay silent, not out of fear, but because you've risen above emotion. And when no one can read you, you become the most formidable person in the room. When someone insults, criticizes, or hurts you, the human instinct is to react instantly. To defend your ego, regain control, or just release the emotional surge inside. But reacting by instinct doesn't make you stronger, it makes you more manipulable. The truly composed don't react in haste. They pause, observe, understand, then act. They don't let fleeting feelings guide them. Because they know, every uncontrolled reaction is another handover of power. Emotional mastery isn't suppression, it's conscious response. It's the pause between stimulus and reaction, where you take back control of your life. And in that moment lies the line between maturity and emotional fragility. Everyone has instincts. But composure must be trained. And the one with composure doesn't let others dictate their mood, feelings, or actions. Not reacting blindly isn't because you don't feel, but because you're strong enough not to be ruled by feelings. In a chaotic world, where emotions are easily provoked by social media, gossip, or petty conflicts, the one who can remain calm is the ultimate anchor. The emotionally stable don't lash out under pressure, rush to judge, or act impulsively. When everything around turns chaotic, they stay cool-headed. They're the person others turn to for wise decisions, clear advice, or simply a safe, quiet presence. Their emotional steadiness provides calm to those around them. They don't hurt others in moments of fury. They don't disrupt teams with ego-driven drama. And they don't need to boast, their composure proves their strength. That's why, in family, work, or any relationship, those who control emotions are the most trustworthy. They're not just strong for themselves, they are pillars for others. In a fragile world, calmness is the true symbol of power. No one becomes deep just by reading books or hearing theories. True inner depth is forged by walking through pain without letting it break you. Those who've been hurt may become bitter, distrusting, and closed off. But those who choose mastery over avoidance turn pain into the foundation of unshakable strength. People who've fallen, lost direction, been betrayed or abandoned, if they don't drown in emotion but choose to observe, accept, and grow, develop deep emotional intelligence and sincere empathy. They don't just become stronger, they become healers through their very presence. Their stillness isn't avoidance, it's the result of thousands of moments facing their rawest emotions and rising without losing themselves. Those who've hurt deeply but still keep a soft heart and a clear mind, they are the truly strong. And that kind of strength cannot be faked or copied. It is the crystallization of experience, courage, and inner mastery. In life, there will be many moments when you want to react instantly to an insult, unfairness, or provocation. Instinct tells you to strike back, to defend yourself. But afterward, you feel drained, exhausted, and nothing has changed. The truth is, every time you react to negativity, you lose your precious energy. The wise and awakened know that not everything deserves a response, an argument, or an emotional outburst. They choose silence not because they're weak, but because they know, inner peace is more valuable than any fight. Instead of wasting emotions on trivialities, they invest energy in building themselves, pursuing goals, and cultivating calm. They don't need to win every encounter, because they are winning within themselves every day, by not letting the outside world shake their inner world. So next time someone provokes you, pause and ask, is this worth my energy? If the answer is no, smile, and walk away. Because the one who controls their response, controls their life. Thank you for watching until the end of the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel to watch more interesting videos.